Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Please remain standing for a moment for the national anthem. This year it will be sung by the FDU Chorus, directed by Professor Alan Cohen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to our annual Academic Convocation. I'm Joseph Kiernan, your university provost. And first thing I would like to do is introduce the members of the platform party that will not be speaking further today. As I call your name, you can stand and everyone can clap. First, we have our Senior Vice President, Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Sheldon Drucker. Our Senior Vice President for University Advancement, Mr. Richard Reese. Vice President for Administration and Air Conditioning, Dick Riccio. Our Vice President for Finance and Treasurer, Dr. Hanya Ferrara. Our Vice President for Enrollment Management, who brings all of our wonderful students to us, Mr. John Wexler. Our Vice Provost for International Affairs, Dr. Chris Capuano. Our Vice President and Chief Information Officer is Mr. Neil Sturm. We hope the computers are running today, Neil. University General Counsel is Wayne Richardson. The President of the Faculty Senate this year is Professor Petros Anastasopoulos. And the President of the Professional Association Senate is Karen Lewis. We have several members of the Board of Trustees with us today. Curtis Artis. We have Carol Knopf, who is the President of the Board of Governors of the Alumni Association. Mr. Stuart Krensman. Winston Lowe, Esquire. Special one, Gregory Olson. And Dr. William O'Neill. And Robert Puris. This is always a good idea. Did I miss any of the trustees? Okay. I'd also at this time like to recognize our deans of students. First, we have Dr. Brian Morrow, Dean of Students at the College at Florham. Brian. I haven't seen her, but Ms. Michelle McCroy Hines, the Dean of Students from the Metropolitan Campus. And we have our student leaders. First of all, we have Jessica Almeida, who is president of the Student Government Association here at the college at Florham. Jessica. Students are important. Let me tell you a couple of things about Jessica. She's from East Brunswick, and she's a senior political science major specializing in international affairs. She participated in the Florham Scholars and Global Studies program during her freshman year, attended Roxton in her junior year, and was inducted into Pi Sigma Alpha, the National Political Science Honor Society, also in junior year. Jessica's been active in student government, serving as a sophomore senator and vice president of student affairs before becoming president. Her goal has been to create a more visibly effective and open SGA. Jessica is also a team leader for Alternative Winter Break in Costa Rica, a resident assistant, and an orientation leader. Good resume, Jessica. The president of the Student Government Association for Metropolitan is Johnny Pinnell, who's not with us right now because as we speak, there's an SGA meeting going on at Metro and he is chairing it. And I hope he is there not worrying about what the administration might be doing. But let me tell you a thing or two about John. He's a junior at Fairleigh Dickinson from Columbia, South Carolina, a chemistry major with concentrations in political science and speech. He's a member of the Knights men's golf team. Last year served as the Athletic Affairs Senator on Student Government and head of the Campus Improvement Committee. Also active in the Student Athlete Advisory Council and the FDU College Republicans, for which he serves as treasurer. He's a member of the National Society of Leadership and Success, Tri Beta Honor Society, Phi Zeta Kappa Honor Society, and the Alpha Beta Honor Society. He's also been on the dean's list for all the semesters he's been attending Fairleigh Dickinson. We have exceptional students in our university, and these two are wonderful representatives of the student body. It is now my pleasure to introduce the president of Fairleigh Dickinson, Dr. J. Michael Adams, who will introduce our guests. Michael?
Convocation is always one of my favorite events in the year, largely because I have very little role. This is my 12th, and I am thrilled to be here. Susan and I are part of this community, and you have become part of our DNA. And thank you for everything you've done and will do. It is my honor, however, to ask two colleagues to step forward. I ask New Jersey State Assembly Republican leader Alex DeCroce and New Jersey State Assembly Budget Officer Joseph Malone III to come forward. Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. We in the state of New Jersey are blessed with two exceptional leaders who have never lost sight of the power of education and the power of politics to support access to higher education for all qualified residents of New Jersey. They understand the problems we face as a university. They understand the issues that confront higher education in New Jersey, and they have been steadfast in their commitment to ensure that higher education remains a vital part of New Jersey's future. That commitment was never more apparent than this last spring, when a very difficult budget set of decisions were made in New Jersey and the tuition aid grant came under review. Initial proposals would have resulted in deep cuts to this program for our neediest students, for all neediest students in this state. That did not happen. That did not happen in large measure to the influence and support of these two remarkable individuals. If you are a student in New Jersey who has a TAG grant, and many of our students do, then Assemblyman DeCroce and Malone deserve your heartfelt thanks for preserving the integrity of that grant program and the access to college which provides it. They also have my personal thanks and the enduring gratitude of this university. Alec DeCroce and Joseph Malone are committed to transparent government that serves all people, and we thank them for that. They are committed to higher education, and we thank them for that. They are staunch advocates for equal opportunity and fair access to education for all. We thank them for that. We applaud their efforts, which have been significant, and thank them for all of that. They have become more than simply legislators to us. They are our neighbors, our friends, and our partners in educating the next generation of New Jersey leaders. On behalf of all of us at Fairleigh Dickinson University, I am proud to bestow upon Alex DeCroce and Joseph Malone our Presidential Medal for statewide contributions to all of higher education. Maybe we won't put it on you. There we go. Perfect. And one more.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to make brief comments? Want me to hold that for you?
If you would, thank you.
Surely.
Thank you, President Adams. It's my honor to gather with the students, the faculty, and the administration to such a reputable and well-regarded university as Fairleigh Dickinson as you embark on another academic year. I'd like to acknowledge the other recipient of today's Presidential Medal, my colleague, Assemblyman Joe Malone. You have selected a most deserving person to receive this prestigious award, the Assembly Republican Budget Officer. I've known Joe since he arrived in the legislature, and there's no greater advocate of higher education. As someone with a background in education, Joe has always championed your cause, both for the students and colleges. He understands the challenges you face, and let me assure you, you have chosen a worthy recipient in Assemblyman Joseph Malone. And I too am grateful for Fairleigh Dickinson's decision to bestow this honor upon me as well. Just as Assemblyman Malone, I too understand the financial hurdles that colleges and students are facing today in today's world. And I certainly believe in the value of an education. We all recognize there is pressure to make do with less and still maintain the standards that make New Jersey's colleges the finest in the country. I also understand the sacrifices that today's students are called upon to make in order to fully develop their talents and their abilities. The Tuition Assistance Grant Program is one of the most valuable resources in New Jersey and that New Jersey has to provide assistance to deserving students. And one of the first lessons you learn as a student is that there's a big difference between a grant and a loan. I wish this fine university nothing but the best as you embark on another year where the professors educate and the students learn, with all the goal of continuing to make New Jersey a great state that it really is. So thank you again for this honor and the best for a successful academic year. Thank you all.
Want me to hold this for you?
That's all right. I got it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President, and to the trustees, to the faculty and staff, and most of all to you, the students. I am deeply, deeply honored, along with Assemblyman DeCroce, to receive this honor. Alex, as many of you know from Morris County, has been an outstanding advocate through his years at the county college and in the assembly in pushing for higher education programs. And I just thank Alex for giving me the opportunity to work on the budget committee and work on the education committee and look at some of these issues that are so critical to the future of public institutions and higher education in the state of New Jersey. Look, I would be remiss if I did not tell you that I fully understand the gravity that all of you are facing with the economic strife and stress that we have in our country and in our state today. I think it's incumbent upon politicians to stop being politicians and start being individuals, statesmen, and leaders in this state and in this country. I've often said to people, I think we have done some pretty terrible things in government over the years that have really probably, in essence, set back generations of New Jerseyans and Americans. But I think it's going to take the pressure, the will, and the strength of people and students in colleges and the staffs and the faculties to make sure that politicians, as we go through these very critical times, do the right thing by the people of the state of New Jersey, the people of this country, and higher education. We have been deficient in the state of New Jersey in supporting higher education in the number of years I've been in the legislature, and that's a fact. And I made a very strong commitment at the last budget hearing that we had on higher education that I would do everything I can to support higher education and the students in this state who need to get a quality education and be prepared to meet the very difficult economic and life decisions that they're going to have to make. So to you, the faculty and staff and the administration here at the college, you have a very, very challenging year, and not even just this year, but the next 4 or 5 years, with the economic realities that we have, preparing these young people to go out and face the challenges that they're going to face. And anything I can do or Assemblyman DeCroce can do to help you in that fight. And I must honestly say, the college presidents were very, very forceful in discussions with legislators in pushing for making sure that the TAG grant was included in this year's budget to in particularly help the independent colleges. So I want to conclude by saying thank you, but I think you must be vigilant and work hard and keep after the politicians of the state of New Jersey and the country. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, John. One of the nice things we do at Convocation every year is invite our retired faculty back. And this year I'm told that Professor Harvey Flaxman is with us today. Harvey, where are you? Is that you clapping for yourself? No, the lights are in my eyes, but I can see you. Welcome back, Harvey. Well, it now becomes my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, who is one of my and our valued colleagues. When we talked to Peter Woolley about doing the keynote address, one of the first things he would say is, well, how long do I have to speak? So we're thinking, well, maybe 10 minutes, Peter, but it's going to take us 12 minutes to read this resume. So if I introduce you for 12 minutes, then you have a pretty easy job. So we cut this down. So we talked to Peter and said, what do you really want me to say? Because I could just say you served a couple of tours of duty on the University Budget and Planning Committee, and that should be enough. But no, we've got a few other things, because Peter said, tell them about the public mind, because that's my most recent project and one that he's particularly proud of. So I'll do that. Peter is a professor of comparative politics and co-founder and director of the university's independent survey research group, The Public Mind. Since 2001, The Public Mind has conducted research on elections and campaigns, policy, culture, and consumer preferences for nonprofits and corporations and for the public interest. A few of the things they do: they distribute 35 press releases each year. They've generated over $500,000 in income, attracted 50,000 web page views a month, been cited in the New York Times 71 times since 2002, generates thousands of stories and references each year in print, TV, radio, and web media across the country, and was recently ranked in the top 10 percentile of all political polling organizations in the country. That happens because of leadership, and Peter is the leader. There's a couple of other things. He's co-editor of American Politics, Core Argument, Current Controversy, and contributed the chapter on New Jersey for Larry Sabato's recent book, The 6-Year Itch. He's also author of 2 books on U.S.-Japan defense relations and a contributor to such professional journals as the Polling Report, Survey Practice, Strategic Review, Naval War College Review, the Journal of Conflict Studies, the Journal of East and West Studies. You see what I mean? Right. Asian Survey, the Common Review, and here's his personal favorite, and this one you have to ask him about, the Journal of Irreproducible Results. Dr. Woolley was awarded a PhD by the University of Pittsburgh in 1987, won the Edward Miller History Prize from the U.S. Naval War College in 1997, and at Fairleigh Dickinson has won the Distinguished Faculty Awards for Research and Scholarship and for Service. The title of his address today is Polling Fools. And this is the interesting thing to listen to. I give you Professor Peter Woolley.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much. And to the members of the Board of Trustees, President Adams, distinguished guests, to my faculty colleagues, and to the staff who make this place run, classmates and future alumni, let me use the phrase polling fools in a sentence. At FDU, you will find a bunch of polling fools. There are actually a lot of people involved in this enterprise. Soren Toluca, Jim Hutton, who I saw today, the entire rafter of people in public relations. There are colleagues in my department like Dan Casino, Krista Jenkins. There is Diane Wentworth, who's here today, and many others I could list. And one of the things I think that makes us polling fools is that we discovered very early on in this operation that polling is really not merely making a series of observations, because when you poll, especially campaigns and elections, you are now participants in the campaign dialogue. And the consequence of that is that we open ourselves up to very serious and sustained criticism. As many of you know, some of that criticism is completely anonymous. You find it in the blogosphere. It's the wild west of discourse, and people are unrestrained and uncivil. Some of that criticism is not anonymous. Just about a year ago, there was a candidate for governor who was asked about our numbers that we had just put out, showing him trailing significantly. And this was asked on a radio show which has the largest audience of any in New Jersey, about 2.5 million people during what they call drive time. And his response was, "We're retarded." The interviewer was so surprised at his response that he asked him, "Did you just say that?" And he said, "Yeah, they're retarded." Okay. Some of that criticism is private, not so public. I recently signed into an event recently and gave my name and was ready to spell it, but I was waved off and said, "Oh, I know you. You're that polling guy." "Yes, I am." "Well, I don't agree with you." "Well, what do you mean?" "Well, I talk to my friends and they don't say any of that stuff." Then, of course, there are my nearly teenage children who have become critics of me as well, so that's toughening me up. But really, I draw the line when it's other people's children. We received a letter from after releasing poll results in a statewide survey. We wanted to know whether people favored or opposed reinstating the bear hunt. And as you know, that's a problem in some parts of the state. Generally, people were in favor of that, but this letter writer, this young letter writer, clearly was not. Writes, how would you feel if you come home one day and a bunch of strangers are eating your food and messing up your house? Bet you'd be mad. Bet you'd call the police. Maybe that's how bears feel when humans are in the forest, only they can't get police help. Let me use polling fools in another sentence. Polling fools us from time to time. Yeah. Believe it or not, there are actually unscrupulous pollsters out there. There are pollsters who use unsound methods. There are pollsters who have a systematic bias that's been demonstrated by academics, and there are pollsters who use methods which have been condemned along with their work by the American Association of Public Opinion Research. The really amazing thing, though, is that their research continues to be reported by journalists virtually every day. And that is aided by internet polls, the ubiquitous Survey Monkey, generating all kinds of non-probabilistic results and making our job a little harder, and fooling people, frankly. Last year, we took it on ourselves, actually, to point out we thought the public was being fooled in the 2009 governor's race. The story was that there was an independent challenger who was getting a significant share of the public's vote. This differed with what we had reported. We had been reporting about 6% for this particular person. Other people had been reporting more and more, 10, 12, 15, up to 20%. At part, our vanity was at stake, but also as scientists, we wanted to prove who was right and who was wrong. You can find the details of that study actually on the FDU website, the Public Mind website. If you want to investigate it, recently published in a journal called Survey Practice. But the short of it is we designed a test and showed that when we substituted a different independent candidate, in fact, there were 10 independent candidates on the ballot in addition to the major party candidates. If you just used a different name and described the person as the independent, he would get 12%. In other words, if we put Joe Kiernan on the ballot and described him as the independent candidate, he'd get 12%. Now, we released this, and we were quite sure we were going to put an end to the feeding frenzy, which became a national feeding frenzy about this third-party candidate, but it was not to be. Instead, what happened was this substitute we had used for the so-called independent candidate woke up that morning finding his phone ringing off the hook and reporters headed for his house. My phone was ringing off the hook, and a publication jumped the gun with the headline, "New Independent Candidate, Gary Steele, getting 12%. How could that be? So polling fools people despite our best efforts. Let me use polling fools in another sentence. Are we polling a bunch of fools? There are actually respectable political scientists, if that's not an oxymoron, who would say that's so. Walter Lippmann, a great political scientist in the early 20th century who wrote seminal works on public opinion, described the public as deaf spectators sitting in the back row of a theater, arriving late in the third act to see the show, staying only long enough to decide who was the hero and who was the villain, and leaving before the curtain fell. That was Walter Lippmann's view of the public and their opinions. More recently, there are political scientists, Diane Ziegler, who sell a lot of textbooks around the country for American government classes. They describe the American public routinely as passive, apathetic, and ill-informed. Certainly there are political scientists then who would say we are polling a bunch of fools. But I think part of what they are missing is that polling really is a way to compensate for what many people agree are inadequacies in the electoral system. A lot of people are frustrated with American elections for a whole variety of reasons. You can hardly pick up a paper without finding people talking about the anger of the American voter. And part of that must be due to the failings of this electoral mechanism, which is supposed to aggregate the views of the public, transmit it to public officials who subsequently act on the wishes of the public. Polling can be that missing link, and I'll tell you a story recently here in New Jersey where I think it served as that missing link. There was a casino project in Atlantic City, a very ambitious project to build 2 buildings in Atlantic City. You can go down there and see the buildings, by the way. They're meant to be the tallest in the state. The Revell Corporation, however, ran out of money in the bottom of the economic crisis and couldn't get the project started again. So the workers were laid off and the buildings were idle. And consequently, the owners of the Revell Corporation tried to get new money in it. And they went and got some help from some politicians. What they wanted to attract that new investor was $350 million in tax abatements to make the deal a little sweeter for any new investor. The State Assembly passed that bill, the State Senate passed that bill went to the governor's desk. And conveniently enough, at that moment, Public Mind released results asking people in a probabilistic survey, did they think this was a good idea or a bad idea? Did they support this tax abatement for this project or not? The public overwhelmingly opposed that project. And when that became known, on the first day, I got 2 calls, one from a senator who had been facilitating that bill, who called me a polling fool, and another from a senator who had been opposed to that bill, congratulating me and pointing out that the public were no fools. A day or 2 later, it should be said that the name of the investor they were trying to attract was leaked to the press. The name of the investor was the National Import-Export Bank of China. A day or 2 after that, the owner of the Revell Corporation said they were putting up the project, the entire project, for sale and backing out entirely. The owner of the Revell Corporation was Morgan Stanley. So while we may be a bunch of polling fools, I don't think we are polling fools. Sound polls can be a sound democratic mechanism linking public opinion to public policy and making up somewhat for the deficiencies of elections. Sound polls may even be a better way to represent the public than any politician. Certainly far better than the politician who recently died and found himself at the pearly gates, talking to somebody he construed as St. Peter. And he had his silvery tongue ready to go to make his case for heaven. But Peter stopped him and said, I'm going to let you vote whether you go to heaven or hell. Well, the politician said, that's easy. I vote for heaven. No, 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 said St. Peter. You can't do it that way. You have to be informed. You have to weigh the evidence. You have to reflect on it, and then you can vote. Okay, said the politician, what do we do? St. Peter says you're going to spend a day in hell, you're going to spend a day in heaven. Then you can vote. Okay, he says, let's go to hell. Off they go, and he finds himself at a great country club, remarkably similar to the one off the New Jersey Turnpike at exit 8. The greens are beautiful, the clubhouse is immaculate. His friends are all there. They're dressed well, they're having a feast, there are plenty of drinks to go around. He meets the devil, very cosmopolitan, very witty. It's cool. Now, he next goes to heaven, where it's a very different story. It's cloudy, and it's classical music playing in the background. And in fact, there's nobody there he knows at all. So he says to St. Peter, I'm ready to vote. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm voting for hell. Fine. And so he's sent to hell, where he finds, much to his surprise, that it's not at all what he saw the other day. In fact, it's a slum. There's a terrible stench. The place is polluted. And all of his friends, they look unhealthy, and they're in rags, and they're not having any fun at all. And he says to the devil, well, wait a minute. This is not what I voted for. The devil says, well, when you were here a couple days ago, we were campaigning. Today, you voted. Be polling fools. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Peter. I don't know what office I was running for when I got the 12%, but I think if you were my running mate, we would win. Now comes another nice part of our annual convocation, the introduction of the new faculty. It's now my pleasure to introduce the college deans, who will in turn introduce their new faculty members. Faculty should stand when their names are called, remain standing until all names are called. Degrees and credentials are printed in your program. We ask the audience to hold its applause until we introduce all of our new faculty this year. First, I'll ask Dean Weinman from the Maxwell Becton College to come forward and introduce his new faculty. Jeff?
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce three new members of the Becton College faculty. David Grand, noted novelist, joins the Department of Literature, Languages, Writing, and Philosophy in our creative writing program. Matthew Minton comes to us from Georgia Institute of Technology and joins the Department of Psychology and Counseling. And Megan Sachs comes to us from John Jay and joins the Department of Social Sciences and History. Welcome to all three of you.
Dean Ken Berkins will introduce new faculty for Petrocelli College. Ken?
Thank you, Joe, and welcome. This year, Petrocelli College actually has 3 new full-time faculty. They are all senior lecturers in our Latino Promise program. And it is a pleasure to introduce Nisa Fajardo. Second, Maria Irene Ojo. And third, Jody Hel Rodriguez. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Dean William Moore for the Silberman College.
It is my pleasure to welcome 3 new faculty to Silberman College of Business. They are Ikpe Justice Agpan, Department of Information Systems and Decision Sciences, Vancouver campus. Joan DiSavio, Department of Accounting, Taxation, and Law. And Uzan Asik Dizdar, Department of Management, Vancouver campus. My pleasure to welcome them to the FDU family.
Thank you, Will. Dean Patty Mills for University College.
It is my pleasure to present new faculty of the University College. Novlet Edwards Hammond, Clinical Instructor, School of Nursing and Allied Health. Debbie Green, Assistant Professor, School of Psychology. Andre Sotel, Lecturer, Construction Engineering Technology. Antonio Velasquez, Assistant Professor, School of History, Political and International Studies. Dwight Wilson, Lecturer, School of History, Political and International Studies. Roberta Wole, Assistant Professor, School of Education. Danyang Yu, Assistant Professor, School of Natural Sciences. Welcome and thank you.
I don't want you to be too comfortable. Would all of our new faculty please stand for a moment so we can welcome you? Welcome to a great university. Now you're going to get a little bit of an idea of how great, because now we're going to introduce our Distinguished Faculty Awards. So I'm pleased to present the recipients of the 2010 Distinguished Faculty Awards, being honored for their outstanding contributions to the university. First, I'm pleased to announce the recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Service, Dr. Judith Kaufman. Judith, would you come up? Judith, I think you've been here before. Judith is Director of the PsyD and MA programs in school psychology and Professor of Psychology in the School of Psychology at University College. President Woodrow Wilson once said, quote, "There is no higher religion than human service. To work for the common good is the greatest creed," unquote. You have embodied this noble creed, and your efforts towards the betterment of FDU have enlightened your students and inspired your peers. Upon your graduation from City College of New York, you took an oath to leave your community in a better place than you found it. You have honored that oath well, and FDU today is a much better place because of your presence. You arrived at FDU in 1988. After serving 18 years as a professor and program director at Yeshiva University, you joined us as the Dean of Students on the Rutherford campus and soon became Vice President for Student Affairs. You explained that administrative work, just like teaching, boils down to making connections with people. With intelligence and sensitivity, you have successfully forged so many connections that have improved so many lives. You later returned to the classroom within the School of Psychology, but you maintained an active leadership role. You were the driving force in the development of our MA and PsyD programs in school psychology, as well as our post-baccalaureate respecialization programs in psychology, and instrumental in the development of the MA program in forensic psychology. Simultaneously, you have played a valuable role in teaching and helping to coordinate the university core and freshman seminar programs. You have recently edited a customized textbook for the freshman seminar program titled Steps to Success, the Fairleigh Dickinson Way. The epitome of a mentor, you have guided numerous honors projects, master's theses, and doctoral dissertations. An enthusiastic role model for our students, you have supported them loyally and sparked their creativity. For you, the greatest reward has been collaborating with caring individuals who together form the soul of our community. You even once led a series of workshops for campus members to enhance that special sense of community. Regularly the first to step forward, your efforts have extended to nearly every facet of the university's operation. For example, you served on the Faculty Senate and the Faculty Rights and Welfare Committee. You're a founding member of the Metropolitan Campus Wellness Committee, a charter member of the Metropolitan Campus Threat Assessment Team, and chair of the Behavioral Assessment Task Force. You have also been active in many professional organizations, serving as president of the School Psychology Trainers Association, Secretary of the American Academy of School Psychology, and chair and a member of various American Psychological Association doctoral program site visit teams, mentioning only a few. But it's FDU that has so enormously benefited from your service, and it's FDU that now offers its gratitude. You were previously honored with the Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching, right here. Today, we again sing your praises and proudly present you the Distinguished Faculty Award for Service. Short lecture, Judy.
Right. My contribution to service today is to make it brief. I am deeply honored and hard to believe that that person is me, but I also know that there are many here of my colleagues who deserve to be in my place. I just wanted to say that I do come from a family with a history of volunteerism and service. My mother, much to my dismay and mortification, was both president of my elementary school PTA and my high school PTA, and so active in the community that she knew I was doing something wrong before I knew I was doing it. And my wonderful dad, apart from taking care of anyone who walked into his grocery store, whether they had the money to buy food or not, was wheeling the old people around as a hospital volunteer well into his 80s. So that's a wonderful heritage to follow. I have had the privilege of working with some of the most wonderful individuals who almost made committee meetings fun. While I don't want to leave anyone out, there are a few individuals that I would really like to specifically acknowledge who have been inspirational in their service, dedication, and mentoring of me. My wonderful colleague, Yolanda Rogers, who served with me on the Faculty Senate and co-chaired the APRC committee with me and made me laugh. Richard Panicucci, who has been inspirational throughout and a key figure on our Metro campus. Craig Morton, who has been a wonderful friend and colleague in all aspects of student affairs. Jim Kenny and Dave Miles, their commitment to the threat assessment team and every aspect of enhancing the campus life on the Metro campus. The faculty in the School of Psychology, my wonderful colleagues, and particularly my colleague Sam Feinberg, who indeed nominated me for this award. The wonderful freshman seminar faculty who year after year dedicate themselves to helping the young people transition to college. And of course, the students who this is all about. Thank you again for this wonderful honor.
Our Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching this year is presented to Professor Robert Houle, Assistant Professor of History in Beckton College. Robert? Albert Einstein once said, quote, "It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge," unquote. Your interactive, dynamic teaching approach awakens the joy of learning in your students, whether you're leading a classroom discussion by asking probing questions or serving up South African cuisine at your traditional end-of-semester dinner. You began your teaching career at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where you earned your master's and doctoral degrees in history. Over the years, you won several travel grants and fellowships for your dissertation research, including a prestigious Fulbright research grant to study in South Africa. After you joined Fairleigh Dickinson in 2004, you quickly showed initiative by pushing for a new Introduction to History course. That course, while focusing on how to use primary documents, also included a week-long section on careers for historians, a component much praised by your grateful students. Your research interests center on the way Africans and other colonized people interact with their colonizers, but you teach a range of world history courses from introductory to upper division, including Islam and Christianity in Africa, colonial epidemics, and crime and punishment in Southern Africa. You helped redesign the history major at the college at Florham and added 2 ocean-based courses, Indian Ocean World History and Atlantic Ocean World History, that moved students past thinking of history as bounded by national borders. In the classroom, your tools go well beyond the usual sources. Students in your African history class hear the tales of a West African storyteller and the music of Ali Farka Touré, and through Google Earth feel as though they have touched down in the distant places being discussed. You regularly take students on field trips to the United Nations, Washington, D.C., Boston, and Little Senegal and Harlem. Your rapport with your students inside and outside the classroom is unmistakable and reflected in their enthusiastic evaluations. Your teaching style is consistently called engaging by your peers and demanding but enjoyable by your students. Those who have observed your classes say you're comfortable, focused, relaxed, and humorous, yet you expect and get active participation from everyone. Through your teaching and modeling of exemplary scholarly habits, you are building young historians, many of whom will go on to teach history themselves and spread your influence beyond FDU. You once modestly said that you were not a particularly flashy professor, and that you have improved your own teaching dramatically by grilling your FDU colleagues and then stealing their ideas. But you have shown yourself to be a true original in the classroom, and for your skill and ability to bring out the best in your students, it is with great joy that we present you with the Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching.
I'd like to thank my wife and parents who are here today, and my sons, one of whom was calling me out there. I'd also like to thank my colleagues in particular, who really I would not be up here today if it were not for them. Finally, I'd also like to thank students who have taken courses with me. I've always encouraged them to express their opinions about the course, and they've often done that, both positive and negative, and I particularly appreciate students who have been willing and forthright enough to help me improve courses by telling me what hasn't worked. On the way up here, I was thinking about my own undergraduate experience, and I may be an outlier in any poll taken among students or alumni, but what I have to say is that for me at least, what didn't matter when I thought about that was the nature of the food service, the quality of the dorms or lack of quality of the dorms, or even how well the athletic teams played or not. I'm a historian today because of the number of excellent professors that I had who lit fires underneath me, both inside and outside of the classroom, fires that I think and hope continue to burn today. It is because of them that I stand before you here, and I only hope, and I guess I expect, that FDU will continue to provide the kind of support that myself and my colleagues need to kindle our own sparks in that light. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. The Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship this year is presented to Professor John Skarbnik, Professor of Taxation at Silberman College. John? A United States Senator once complained that the Internal Revenue Code was about 10 times the size of the Bible, and unlike the Bible, contains no good news. But there is good news for the current and future lawyers, accountants, and CPAs who must wrestle with our constantly changing and complex tax laws. And it's that you are on the job researching and explaining the issues for them. Your colleagues in the Department of Accounting, Tax, and Law note with some awe that your current publishing output is even greater than when you started at Fairleigh Dickinson 22 years ago. Your productivity is undoubtedly spurred by your continuing fascination with tax law. Where most of us see an impenetrable maze of legalese, you see an intriguing combination of accounting, law, policy decisions, and sociology. You pursued your academic interests first as an economics major at Rutgers University. After obtaining a law degree from Rutgers and a Master of Law and Taxation from New York University, you became an assistant professor of accounting at Rutgers Newark, where you were named Teacher of the Year by the Rutgers Accounting Society. At Fairleigh Dickinson, you teach classes on federal income and corporate taxes, tax accounting, estate and gift planning, and partnerships. Most of your students are already professionals working in the field, accountants, CPAs, sometimes attorneys, and you clearly enjoy the challenge of teaching students who are often experts in a specific area themselves. You say, I can learn from them, and they can learn from me. You've also been a director of the MS in Taxation program, have organized and directed fundraising drives for the program, and have graciously given your time to committee service for your department. In your scholarly work, you have stayed on the cutting edge of a demanding and ever-evolving field. You've written 15 book chapters and 30 articles and delivered numerous presentations on the subject of taxation, and you're especially known for your expertise on estate and trust. Currently, you're working with your FDU colleague Ron West, Associate Professor of Taxation, on an article about a new law that encourages whistleblowers who report tax fraud and tax violations. You're also the editor of Murphy's Will Clauses, a 5-volume resource for estate planning attorneys and accountants throughout the United States. Since December 2002, you have revised 14 chapters in this invaluable online and print reference, each chapter equivalent to a book of 200 pages or more. For your extraordinary efforts to crack the tax code and to clarify its mysteries for the rest of us, and for so effectively advancing the reputation and prestige of your university in the process, we are delighted to present you with the Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship.
President Adams, Board of Trustees, my esteemed colleagues, staff who's overworked, students, and my wife, Jane, thank you for being here today. I'm really honored and humbled by receiving this award. For me, going into taxation was a natural course. Taxation, to most people, think of it as a boring, pain in the ass subject, but it's much more than that, because taxation really combines a number of disciplines. It combines economics, accounting, law, sociology, and political science. To me, it was natural. I always had an interest in politics, and when I got to law school, fortunately I had some excellent professors that really gave me the insight what tax law was about. Research in the tax field is necessary because it's always evolving. To stay on top of my students at FDU in the MS program, I have to research. I have to stay in the cutting end. They ask difficult questions. Most of the time, hopefully I'm giving them the right answers. So I feel very fortunate to be part of a university that encourages research. I would be remiss if I did not thank my director of my program, Ron West, my colleagues, Frank Brunetti, Marshall Bartlett, Ted David, who also worked very hard to make the MS in Tax program what it is. I also like to thank our director, Bob DeFilippis, who always has encouraged us to do what we can to make the program better. Before I close, I just got to ask Mr. Woolley, you know, there's a rumor floating around that Joe Kiernan has been meeting with 2 assembly people. They found out he's polling about 18% and they think he's viable. Is there any truth in that?
As long as I describe him as the independent.
I'll keep my remarks short and I'll close right now. I'll do a service like my colleagues. I'd like to congratulate Bob and Judith, and I feel very fortunate to receive this award today. Thank you very much.
It's nice. My numbers are up 6% in the last half hour. Our students are influenced during the course of their educational careers not only by the faculty, but by many other members of the Fairleigh Dickinson community as well. The counselors and advisors, the librarians and assistants, and the wide range of support staff who give so much of themselves on a daily basis to enhance our students' experiences and to facilitate the work of the university. Just as we have many faculty who have given years of distinguished service to FDU, we have many professional staff members who have also made outstanding contribution to the success of the university. They are, in a very real sense, the pillars of FDU. The Pillars of FDU Award is designed to recognize those individuals who have served FDU with commitment and distinction for at least 10 years, who have promoted civility on campus, who have shown unusual concern for students and their welfare, and who serve as role models for their FDU colleagues and students. This award is conveyed to no more than 2 employees from each campus each year. Nominations from the campus community are considered and awardees are chosen by former recipients. Provost Ken Green will introduce the pillar recipients from the college at Florham. Ken?
Rosalie Sabatino, please come forward. Rosalie Sabatino, Assistant Director, Career Development, College at Florham. Your grandmother once said, "Be true to yourself and you'll be guided down a path that suits you." As a career counselor, you have passed this wisdom to your students and then guided them down many paths to success. An FDU employee for 11 years, you have counseled nearly 600 students in an academic year, supporting them with everything from internships to interviewing, resume writing, and comprehensive workshops for a better understanding of their career goals. Your presentations throughout the campus and your personal messages have propelled many students to prominent positions. But you don't wait until students are ready to leave FDU to make a difference in their lives. You greet them immediately as a freshman seminar instructor, helping to educate them about all aspects of the university life here. You innovatively introduced a career module that instructors can use to help students begin their career exploration process. Your concern and enthusiasm for your campus community is reflected in your valuable service on the Campus Council and the Professional Administrative Senate. Your in-depth knowledge of experiential learning is well regarded outside of FDU, and you hold memberships with important groups such as the National Association of Colleges and Employers and the New Jersey Cooperative Education and Internship Association. For representing FDU with such distinction and for helping students find their paths to tomorrow, we salute you today as a pillar of FDU.
Oh, I will. Okay. Sure. I'm just happy that Ken didn't call me Rory Sabatini.
I'd like to thank President Adams and the university for this recognition. When I saw Joanne Sapio's name on the recipient list, I knew I was in very good company. Joanne very early on educated me on all things financial aid and federal work study at a time when I needed it. And no matter how busy she was, she did it with a smile. And the reason I say that is because in thinking about my experiences, I realized that I've been the beneficiary of an environment where I've learned so much from staff like Rudy and Laura and Debbie and Marjorie, and the list could go on. And also from faculty mentors that I've collaborated with over the years, like Caroline Munoz and Ken Betts and Gwen Jones, Howard Lieboff, Rich Turek, Lana Whitmarsh, and yes, even my students who have walked me through many technological challenges. On top of that, the PAS Executive Board, which I served on for 6 years, really gave me the chance to learn about issues that affected PAS members. Through that affiliation, I had the privilege of attending the PAS Roxton Retreat, where I saw Peter Sammartino's vision and President Adams' global mission as the true crown jewel of Fairleigh. I would be very remiss if I didn't thank my mentor, Valerie Adams. Valerie and I are like yin and yang, the visionary and the practitioner, working side by side. She has poked and prodded and encouraged me over the years to be involved, and I thank her and I thank all of you.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, we'll help you down the steps.
Joanne Sapio, please come forward. Joanne Sapio, Financial Aid Coordinator, College at Florham. You have served FDU for nearly a quarter of a century, ensuring that students and their families receive the support and assistance needed to fund their education and fuel their dreams. Financing a college education is perhaps the most important investment a family can make. And you and your office navigate students and their families through the many complex issues surrounding financial aid. You have gone from being the first person one sees in the office to a trusted counselor, making sure that both students and their families not only receive the funding they need, but the consideration and thoughtfulness that they deserve. Even in the face of frustrated parents and students, you never get flustered and continually represent the university with class and compassion. With great loyalty and pride, you often are the first office member to report for duty in the morning. Just as often, you linger late into the evening to ensure problems are resolved, solutions found, and the door to an FDU education remains open. Beyond your vast knowledge of financial assistance programs, your empathy and sympathy, counselor and mentor, you have helped students with classroom concerns and personal problems. For your exemplary service and dedication, you recently were honored with the College at Florham Campus Recognition Award. It is our pleasure now to honor you once again, this time as a pillar of FDU.
Thank you. Oh, this is wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. Love Fairleigh Dickinson. That's why I've been here a quarter of a century. I want to thank Teresa Cole for nominating me for this award. I am so happy. Thank you.
now the recipients from the Metropolitan Campus. Lisette Garcia, please come. Lisette is Associate Director and Student Development Specialist in the EOF office at the Metropolitan Campus. At FDU, the EOF program is more than a terrific support network for students. It's a caring family bonded together by your nurturing hand. Once an EOF student yourself, you know well the challenges these students face, and you take a personal interest in each and every student. You proudly share in their achievements as if they were your own children. And when there are disappointments, you also feel the pain. You started as a counselor more than a decade ago, and for more than 6 years now, you have directed the day-to-day operations of the program, which includes 200 students. Focused on cultivating leadership skills, you have successfully prepared numerous students for professional careers. Your intelligence, fairness, and understanding are so well regarded that friends of EOF students frequently seek your advice. Your sense of family extends far beyond the program and includes the entire FDU community. You can be found everywhere on the campus, from student meetings to athletic events. You teach freshman seminar in developing academic skills. You serve as an advisor to the Organization of Latin American Students and Lambda Theta Phi Latin Fraternity, Inc. You are a member of the Campus Standards Judicial Board, a member of the Student Success Team, and a Residence Life Fellow. Simply put, you are there for FDU students all of the time, and you are rightly today officially named a pillar. Congratulations.
Thank you. You did notice Joe didn't tell me 2 minutes. I'm going to take a little longer. First, I'd like to thank those who nominated me for this prestigious award, and to the Pillar Committee for selecting me as a pillar of FDU. I am grateful, especially honored, and deeply humbled by this recognition. When I was informed of this honor, my immediate response was, I'm just doing my job. My belief is that we all have an obligation to provide students with opportunities to grow and succeed while in college. We know that there are various reasons why students do not succeed. And we know that some of these reasons are not always academically based. To ensure student success, we have to support them in all aspects of their college experience, both in and out of the classroom. Whether it is assisting them with their academic, financial, personal, or career matters, or directing them to other individuals who can address their concerns, it is everyone's responsibility to ensure that the students' needs are met. If we all have a collective goal, it should be this: to understand the diversities of our student population at FDU, and to encourage, motivate, and support all the students as they establish themselves and work towards accomplishing their personal and career goals. I have the very fortunate opportunity to work with a program and a staff that share these beliefs and lead by example. At this time, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to my husband, children, and family for their constant support and understanding of how impactful my job is, for accommodating the many times that I do not have to but want to come back to work to attend a student function, and for recognizing that this aspect of my career is important to me. I thank you and greatly appreciate you. To the EOF staff, thank you for taking this journey with me. You give your all each and every day for the betterment of the students and the program, and I thank you for that. Without your efforts and collaboration, I wouldn't be here today. Specifically, to Marjorie and Marianne, thank you for your constant guidance, your encouragement, and your confidence throughout the years. A million thanks for always supporting me and my sometimes out-of-the-box thinking. Thank you to the FDU community who has collaborated with me throughout the years to address various student issues. And now to the students. You have heard me say this probably half a dozen times already. You are the creator of your future. What you do today will have a direct impact on your tomorrow. Therefore, take responsibility for your actions, make wise choices, embrace challenges, learn from your experiences, and always work hard. And one day you too will be recognized for your efforts. In the words of Randy Pausch, when you do the right thing, good stuff has a way of happening. Thank you again for this special recognition.
Great job with that. Maria Koslowski, please. Maria is the head of the Hackensack Libraries at Metropolitan Campus. You began at FDU in 1989 as a librarian on the Rutherford campus and have since become an indispensable resource for students and faculty. You founded the Business Research Library and a lengthy period of time single-handedly presided over the facility. Always positive with a persistently pleasant demeanor, you welcome all to a friendly environment where no question is too trivial, no task too large. You have supported students well, helping them to complete their course requirements. But even more importantly, you have inspired them to be creative in their research. You have empowered them to find their own way. You play an equally influential role for faculty, harnessing the power of the library for transformative learning experiences. While helping students prepare for the future, you have helped preserve our interest in the past. In addition to archiving business materials, you kept historical maps and other documents that are now housed in the North Jersey Heritage Center. You also have faithfully preserved important treasures documenting the early years of Fairleigh Dickinson University. Your passion for the community extends to many other endeavors, including supporting the hospitality program's annual scholarship dinner and serving annually as a marshal at commencement. Deeply valued for your expertise, your energy, and your encouragement, you have been called both a guardian angel and a secret weapon. For so wonderfully filling both roles, we recognize you as a pillar of FDU. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Kiernan, President Adams. For me, the library has always been a very special place. It's a place where information is transformed into knowledge. It is a place for solace, musing, learning, and discovery. It is where anxiety is tempered and understanding is transformed into action. The library is a place that evokes memories from a bygone era. For the scholar and the layman, the library has always been, and I hope always will be, a place where the mind reaches beyond itself. Thank you.
Professor Woolley just informed me that a cell phone poll just recently taken has me at 40%. The major candidates have dropped out, and we have been declared the front runner. Dr. Woolley will be my campaign manager. He'll be accepting contributions. Well, that brings us to a close. I'll thank you all for coming to the 2010 Academic Convocation. Before we part, you don't pull these things together without some help from some special people. So we have Joan and Michelle from Metropolitan, and Karen and Marilyn from the College at Florham, and Susan from the Provost's office, all of whom worked especially hard to make the convocation a success once again. So we appreciate your efforts, ladies. We ask you to remain in your seats until the platform party has gotten to the food table first. We will then exit the auditorium, and we can gather up in the Great Hall for some refreshments. Thank you, everyone, and we'll do it again next year at the Metropolitan campus.